everyone. This is a yoga circle, and when you do so, please make sure that you're on a carpet or something soft, because we're going to the forest, and in the forest live the roly-polies, and when we do that, we want to make sure that our head is nice and soft. So let us start. Once upon a time in the forest, there were beautiful trees. And these trees, they had all the different parts, starting with the roots, steadfast and strong. Its trunk was nice and tall. And then, as it grew, some parts of it turned to different sides. It grew its branches beautifully up, some to the side, and it stood so steadfast and strong. Now, when we walk through the forest, some of the trees are growing just differently. So we looked at the roots, and the trunk was so nice and strong. Some of the parts grew just the other way. So we have our other leg out, and our branches were nice, strong, and up, steadfast and still. So balanced. Even when Brother Wind came, they stood so strong. Now, besides the trees, there were a lot of other things underneath, so let's have a look. We're starting to look underneath. Well, underneath, one of the little creatures was a roly-poly. And this roly-poly decided to go up the trunk of the tree and down a branch, up again, and that tickles, all the way over to another side branch, up the branch, all the way down its trunk. And it said, "Wow, this is a mighty fine tree." And it went, whoops. Now, Roly-Poly had a friend, and he went up on a different tree, up to the trunk, down its side, up again, and down a side branch, up again, and down the last side, the other side of the trunk. And he said, this was a mighty fine tree. And he went, whoop. And together, Roly-Poly and his friend did it one more time. They went, whoop, and back up. Now, besides the tree and besides the roly-poly, there were some other friends. Let's see who we saw. First, we lay on our bellies with our hands underneath our shoulders. Our legs were together, and we saw coming up out of the grass, lifting up, beautiful cobra snake, and he put his head down, and his friend came, a big king cobra, and it looked around for something to eat. Everything was hiding, so it went down again. For the children, they were hiding. They were on their knees, and they were hiding, making themselves so small. Now, when they came up, all was clear. So they looked around. And what did they see? A beautiful pond, a lake. And what was on the lake was so wonderful. So they looked and they looked. And what did they see? They laid on their bellies, the hands under the shoulders. They tucked their toes under. And they saw a beautiful swan coming up and out. And as they went back, they stretched so far. They made themselves long. And next to the swan, they saw another swan. They tucked their toes under. And up they went, all the way high. They looked around, and they went down and stretched themselves back. Now, as the children looked, there was something else. There was a beautiful lily pond with lily pads, and on one of the lily pads, they saw beautiful lotus flower. They went with their hands underneath, their feet were together, and they started to lift their legs, and up came their hands to the side. A beautiful blossoming lotus. Down they came. Well, if you look at the lily pads, there was something else that was slightly moving. Well, let's see what that was. One foot and another. Their feet were out, their knees were out, and it was Baby Frog. Baby Frog had been practicing. He had been practicing jumping. At first, he couldn't get up from the lily pad, and now he was able to jump just a little bit. But he felt lonely, and so he went looking for his sister. And on the next lily pad over, his sister was happily jumping. Well, Baby Frog was not quite happy yet. It was looking for its mommy. And over, further over, he could see his mom. And his mom was looking for Baby Frog, looking for Baby Frog. And the little Baby Frog thought, where is my daddy? And Daddy Frog is very strong. He used his arms too. And he went all the way over, all the way up. And now that Baby Frog had seen all of his family, he went to relax and sit down. So that was what we saw on the pond. Now let's see what else there is in the forest. Let's come up and stand up. So, let us look around in the forest, far and wide, far and wide. And there they saw the prince coming on a horse. They saw him coming around this way, galloping, galloping, here we go. Off through the forest, don't be slow. Eee! Let's get off our horse and tie it onto the tree. And let's see where Prince is now. Prince came, and he was very close by, making bigger strides. And then he was there. You got off his horse, tied it to another tree, and he looked around his kingdom. He stepped 1 foot forward, the other foot back. He brought one arm forward, one arm back, and he looked over his kingdom, over his forward hand, his forward knee bent, and he said, I send peace into this part of the kingdom. And so he stepped back, and he looked around, and he looked to a different part of the kingdom. And he stepped his other foot forward, other one back, hand forward, and a hand back. And he looked at his forward hand, he bent his forward knee, and he said, peace and love to the rest of my kingdom too. And he was so strong and steadfast. And he stood back, relaxed his arms, and he walked around his kingdom. And he kept thinking, I want freedom for my kingdom. So he placed 1 foot forward and one back, and he brought both arms forward and up, and he looked up at the sun, and he said, freedom for my kingdom. And then he placed his hands all the way forward, and he felt the beautiful moss, the softness of the earth, and he walked his hands all the way up. And he stepped back, and he faced the other part of the kingdom, put his 1 foot forward, the other one back. His arms were forward and up. He stretched his hands up to the sun, and he said, I am freedom, and so for my kingdom. And he stretched his hands all the way forward, all the way to the earth. Can you do that too? Bringing your fingertips to the moss, feel it's underneath, and then bring your hands up the side of the leg, and then walk. Now he stood there in front of his kingdom with his hands in prayer pose. He bent his knees, and then he looked to one side of the kingdom. All is well. And he stood up, he looked forward and around to the other side of the kingdom. All is peaceful, he said. And he stood up once again. He lifted his arms up and looked up to the beautiful trees, the sun and the clouds. And he lifted his arms and he reached out to his toes to the earth. And he felt the moss one more time. And he slowly curled himself up. Beautiful. As he walked through the forest, he found some beautiful trees. And these were very special trees, holy fig trees. And these trees had one sturdy trunk forward and a little piece back. One arm forward and one arm to the side. And then he heard Brother Wind come. And as Brother Wind blew the tree slightly, it lifted part of its roots, but it was so strong and steadfast, balanced and centered, and it came up. And the prince looked around, and he saw another one of those beautiful trees. So he placed his other foot forward, one back, his one arm forward, the other one to the side, and Brother Wind came to make it steadfast, blew him over just slightly, and he held its balance, and up he came. Now, the prince looked around through the forest, and what did he see through the trees? He saw a big mountain. A big mountain. And the mountain was steadfast and strong. From the base of the mountain all the way up, standing tall, strong, and steadfast. Now, said the prince, I see all is well. I will take my horse, untied from the tree, getting on my horse, and let's gallop out. I will be back. Galloping, galloping, here I go, off through the forest, it's slow.